Welcome to the show, and today my guests are Laurabel Mba, who's a diverse and upcoming entrepreneur, and also Tera McDonald, who is going to be front and center with the first St. John's Fashion Week. Don't go away, I'll be right back. Welcome back to Women Rising. And the journey continues. My guest now is Laurabel Mba, and she is an aspiring entrepreneur and also a familiar face with Rogers TV. Welcome, Laurabel.
Thank you so much for having me.
We get to change seats.
I know, it's so exciting.
Yeah, I get to interview you for a change.
Absolutely.
So tell me all about your new business, and things are really moving for you.
Absolutely. So we recently rebranded. So we were formerly known as Race to Dinner NL, but we incorporating all the things that I happen to do under my title. It's now Laurabel Mba Consulting. And so it relaunched, rebranded officially on the International Day to End Racial Discrimination, because a lot of the work I do is focused on anti-racism and diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging.
Well, I think of you as a young entrepreneur, and how did you begin this journey?
Absolutely. So for me, this work of activism has been long-standing, but it definitely became bigger after I had my son in 2019. And then in 2020, we as a world watched the murder of George Floyd. And then it became for me a point that I couldn't let it go, because I'm raising a biracial son in predominantly white spaces. And I always wonder, at what point does the world stop seeing him as cute and little to where he's now seen as a potential threat? And I couldn't say, hey, it's fine, and have him come to me later and be like, Mom, it's hard. And I didn't do anything to make it easier for him.
And how did you put that into the scope of your business?
Absolutely. So with my business, we do these things called race table talks. Mm-hmm. So I was inspired to do that by Regina Jackson and Saria Rowe, who are based in the US, when I watched a documentary called Deconstructing Karen, and they had race to dinners where they would sit with a dinner of 8 white women and they would be co-facilitators to talk about racism as it was showing up in the US. So I watched that documentary, and Theo was beside me as I was watching, and all I could think is, I need this. I need this here. I need this in my province. I need a way to talk about it. So I reached out to them, and they offered a training. And then first they said they weren't training people. And I was like, if you change your mind at any point, I need a way to be able to facilitate this. So they reached back out and said, we're doing a small training with 8 women. Were you interested? And I was like, sign me up. Let me do this. So trained with them, and then launched in 2022. And then it was an opportunity because Newfoundland and Labrador is seen as a very welcoming space, but we do have underlying sentiments of racism. So it was like, I know we're welcoming on the surface, but let's deep dive into some of the things that we hear at dinner tables when racialized people aren't there, and let's figure out how to navigate that, because our population is declining and immigration is the way to sustain it. So racialized people come with immigration, and they need to be able to call this place home as well.
Mm-hmm. And yourself, where did you originally come from?
Yep, so I'm from Nigeria originally, but I've grown up, we moved to Canada when I was 8, so I lived in Ontario, and then I lived in Alberta, and in 2011 I moved out here for university.
And what were you studying at university?
Business at Memorial.
In business at Memorial, and
Yeah.
so now you've taken it into the entrepreneurial channel. Yeah. Growing up all over Canada and then coming to Newfoundland, did you feel a difference here?
Oh, absolutely. There was a difference from the outward friendliness one threw me off. So I grew up in Toronto, where you don't make eye contact with people. If you don't know them, you don't know them, and you continue on. And like, one of the very stark memories for me was I was waiting for a bus outside my residence, and someone was talking to me, and I was like, I don't know you. You're telling me your life story, and it felt very personal. I was like, this is a little strange. And then things like being called my love or my ducky were really hard things for me to overcome. I was like, how do you balance that with the whole stranger danger kind of thing? But then adjusting, and then having a partner from here, it kind of changed. And then when you live here long enough, people still try to understand where you're from, and if you call this place home. So I've been trying to navigate all of that.
Over the years, Newfoundland has been kind of an homogenous type of place. And so how is race handled here from your perspective? I mean, we need a lot of help.
Yeah. So I think there are 2 ways people kind of look at race within the province. Is people still tend to think Newfoundland is a predominantly white space, which I think is unfair because Newfoundland, if we talk openly and honestly, was an Indigenous place before. And we have this tendency of whitewashing our history in that sense. And then as racialized people move into the province, there have been some who've been here for generations on generations, but people still think you're not a Newfoundlander, where do you originally come from? So I think there's a tendency within the province to think if you're racialized, this isn't your home and you're transitory here. So you're here for a bit, you're here for a stay, but you're never really here. And I think that's hard for a lot of people who either are born here and have grown up here, and this is the only home they've known. And for those who move here with the hope of making this their home, when it's not always fully received as, yes, you can be a Newfoundlander.
Very interesting. Now, how do you find your clients, or how do they find you?
Absolutely. So social media has been very big for me. I've been very lucky that when I announced this business, there were a couple media outlets who were like, hey, we want to know more about what this is. And through that, I was able to kind of show them a little bit about what the race table talks involve. And then social media has been big for me to kind of get the message out there and teach about what anti-racism actually looks like in practice and what racism actually is in our province, because we have a tendency to compare racism with what we see in the US to how it shows up in Canada and Newfoundland specifically. And if you do that, you assume there isn't racism in the province. So, but if you look at the ways it shows up, it's simple as when someone says, where are you from? And you say here, and they're like, no, where are you really from? That for people who this is the only home, it makes them feel othered. Or if people are out downtown for a night out, all know the take a cab home because it's the safest way to get home. There are many instances of racialized people approaching cabs and seeing the drivers lock the door, and then they can't get home. And so then begins, when do I feel safe if I can't go and enjoy the liberal things that everyone else gets to because I can't safely get home because they don't feel safe enough to carry me home?
Those are good examples that speak to my heart, certainly. And when people are working with you, how does this play out?
Okay, yep. So our race table talk sessions usually have two racialized co-facilitators. So it's me and someone else who's either from the community or from the industry for working with businesses. And then the rest of the people around the table are non-racialized. When we try to have a gender parity also, because talking about race and racism to a room full of white men can be very scary for people, especially because white men are known to be in positions of power. So to create kind of an equity situation, we have no more than 50% of the attendees being white men, and the rest can be gender fluid, gender non-conforming, and women as well. So you have those people, and so the conversation around the table is a chance to kind of ask those sometimes awkward questions when it comes to dealing with people who are racialized, because sometimes people have I don't want to say something because I don't want to get canceled, but I really don't know how to approach this. Some of them being like, is it okay to say black? And I was like, yes, it's absolutely okay to say black. And in fact, sometimes we prefer it because if you're not African, no one wants to be called African. If you're Caribbean, you really are proud of your heritage. So black is an overarching characterization of our community, and it's easier for people to kind of navigate that kind of stuff. So we have that, but then we also have policy creation. So some organizations in their diversity, equity, and anti-racism journey are at a point where they want formalized documents that show that they are a safer space for racialized people to show up. We help with policy creation, we do training and presentations, as well as the race table talks.
Absolutely everything. Very encompassing and no doubt very busy.
Yes.
And I want to share the fact that you recently won a wonderful award, and I would like you to tell me about that.
Yep. So I have the absolute honor and pleasure as being the 2024 Women in Communications and Technology Entrepreneur of the Year. It is truly an honor to stand alongside so many women and allies who are creating more inclusive spaces, not just for women, but marginalized communities as a whole. It was an honor to find out that I had won, considering the wealth and breadth of nominations that were received and the fact that this is a Canada-wide award, to be recognized on that level for what I'm doing over here when I think I'm in Newfoundland and no one really knows who I am. So it's an honor.
It must have felt incredible. And you said to me when we were chatting before we came on air that there were some incredible people who were making the decision to give you this award.
Yeah.
Just share that.
So yeah, the nomination judges include people from the Treasury Board of Canada, regional directors from Google and IBM, and to know that they read the application, saw value in what I'm doing and the impact I have the ability to make was truly an honor.
And now we are honored to have you here at Enlow. Tell me about how you became involved in NLO.
Yeah, so I happened to attend the NLO conference last year. And then I was like, oh, this is super cool. Let me take a look. I registered to be a member of NLO and had the opportunity because as a woman and an entrepreneur, there aren't a lot of spaces that know how to handle some of the struggles women have when it comes to business, like accessing funding, navigating the business landscape as a whole. And NLO seemed like the right choice to make in stepping into that. So when I also launched my business after, NLO was one of the first corporate places I happened to do what was formerly a Race to Dinner session, now a Race Table Talk session. So knowing that they, one, not only were able to support me, but were interested in seeing what the services look like when provided to an organization was fantastic as well.
Well, we'll probably see you presenting here at future conferences.
Fingers crossed, one day.
No, but what you have to share is so important and so pertinent, and you're going forward with so much confidence and so many great ideas. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much.
sitting with me.
No worries, it's been a pleasure.
We're going to hop back to the trade show floor and see what's going on there. Well, we're back on the trade show floor, and there's some very cool things happening here with robotics, and I really wanted to share this with you. And Norbert, Obi, you're going to tell me all about this.
Thank you, 100%. So thank you to our show. This is all robotics that we have. The name of the company is Avalon Robotics. We are service providers of service robotics within the industries.
Now, Norbert, how does someone get into robotics? I'm assuming by means of computer science, perhaps?
Yeah, so that's one of the ways to do that. If you computer science or get you into robotics or AIs or machine learning, right? There's different talents of getting into robotics. Right, so one of those is computer science. I myself, I did computer science back at Memorial, and also have get into AIs as well. Right, so those are different ways you could get into robotics.
In your opinion, Norbert, where are we now and where robotics can go? Are we at the very beginning?
I don't think so. I mean, back in robotics have been like a decade in the technology, right? So it's not something new. But what's happening now, just because of, say, the adoption was gonna, picking up, right? So it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing, right? Even 16, 20 years ago, when I did my undergrad, I did artificial intelligence, right? 20 years ago, right? So that technology has been there, but now just because of the emergence of Gen AIs, right? So that picks up that interest. But industries and warehouses, they've been using robotics to do stuff like vehicle manufacturers have been using robotics, hospitals they've been using robotics, right? But it's just more of the service robot is still not there yet, but I think we're getting there.
So what are the features? What kind of things are you working on here with these lovely machines?
Yeah, so if you look at the outlook of what we have, so I mean each one have names, and what we have here is Leo, which is hospital delivery systems. So used within the hospitals to deliver meds and pills, right? So this works alongside the nurses to deliver stuff. So you got a few complements there that is used to deliver stuff. So with that, a nurse could put stuff there to deliver from the nursing station to maybe to lab or emergency. Yeah, so that's just for delivery. It's an access controlled, very quick, very fast, comes with very many features behind the scenes.
Oh, cool. So I could be in a lab sending something up or receiving a test. Or what about sending equipment to an operating room?
100%. So this also does that, right? So the thing with this is features is very flexible to use. So you can take this off. So it gives you options to add in more in-house keeping stuff, right? So few of the robotics in the market doesn't have this kind of features, maybe very small in the market, but ours is very versatile. You could put something small, something big. Okay. So that is very good aspect of this system.
And what do we have here?
So this one here is, from the pandemic, see everybody's more of, about safety and keeping a safe environment. So this is a mirror. So mirror goes around to disinfect the space. So this only puts in Health Canada approved disinfectant system, right? So with that disinfectant, it goes around to disinfect the area, and it could be controlled through the mobile app. So it gives you very insight of which area was disinfected, how many disinfections were used, which area have to get done, right? So this is, instead of doing that manually, it doesn't know where was disinfected.
Right.
What was the rate of disinfectant that was used in that particular spot, right? So even if you want to go to a high risk place that, you don't have to send your staff because of risk of contacting, infection. So send up a robot to go and do it. So this is what this is done.
Actually, I can see a lot of applications for that because we had a dental office and there were things we were trying to do through COVID and to deal with this kind of thing. So that's really handy. And who's this person here?
Yeah, so this one is Keith. So Keith does a bunch of things. Primarily just goes around to deliver things within the restaurants for like food deliveries. We also use that in events like this. So the Yellow events also actually rented this event bot to promote their events, go around in the event space and do some promotions in the space. So you can use that for that promotion. You can also use that for food deliveries with your elevating the guest experience, and everybody loves it. So this is the little piece that does that stuff.
Can I have a favorite robot?
Well, I think this one.
This one, I would take him home. I mean, I think you're onto a good thing here. I think you can market this. Maybe you're here to market this to women entrepreneurs. Definitely. Any of these, actually. I'm having fun.
That's the thing too, right? Dental offices also use this to, have videos of that on this machine. It goes from one dental office to the other to deliver them the small things. There is equipment that doesn't have to be access control. So Cave is a perfect example for that.
I can see all of that. Thank you so much, Norbert. Best of luck with everything. And thank you for the time today to tell us all about it.
100%. Thanks so much. Good.
Welcome back to Women Rising. It's always great to get a glimpse of what's happening on the trade show floor, but now we're going to see what's happening at a very exciting project coming up as I welcome Tera McDonald. Good to see you again, Tera.
It's so nice to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while, and I can't let you out of my sight because when I do, you are creating such amazing, wonderful things, which I'm holding a brochure right here, St. John's Fashion Week. Amazing.
Thank you. St. John's Fashion Week is the dream and brainchild of our CEO, Jessica Brown. And I was really happy and very willing to come on and be a creative director and assist her in bringing her vision to life.
Well, when I hear St. John's Fashion Week, we've never had one here in the province, and it's going to be happening here this summer. I think, do you have the dates at hand?
Yeah, so we are running it this summer. It runs August 7th to the 11th, so basically from Regatta Day through to the Sunday after.
And what do we expect to see and happen? What's going to take place?
Well, we're really excited about it because what we plan to do and what we are doing is bringing an inclusive and diverse experience to the people of St. John's and the wider province. And we're doing that by having Indigenous designers like Leslie Hampton, like Stitched by April. And of course, we also have amazing local designers. Salt is on the lineup. MJ is going to be on the lineup as well. And we have even teased in some Indigenous talent. We're going to have Notorious Cree come in and do a performance on our pedestrian mall runway. So.
Now, I've been told you're going to have a few different runways, and will they all be in one area of the city or throughout the city? Or
no, to stay on that theme of diversity and giving options to people to attend where they're comfortable, we have different designers and different runways across the city. I believe we start at the Rooms and we end at the Avalon Mall for a very fun community event where families can come and get to see an afternoon fashion show, and that'll be our closing.
Wonderful. Now, you've mentioned diversity a few times, and I know that this is really important to you. I've worked very closely with you on a project. We'll talk about that after. But how is it that you're going to make this diverse? What are the special things you're going to do?
So one of the lovely things, and yes, we have worked together, and I do work in diversity, equity, inclusion. One of the things is if you are welcoming and you create a space where people feel like they belong, your diversity is going to happen naturally because people will gravitate to that, and people will come to spaces that ordinarily they may not think. Like, for example, we did have a model casting call this past Saturday, and I expected, maybe we would get like 35, 40 models, and we were astounded that we got 70. And every time I open up any of my social media, there's another person asking, do I still have a chance? Do I still have a chance? And this is coming from people that are not, I guess, I don't want to say traditional, but when you picture a model, everybody pictures the same thing, right? Like this, and not everyone's naturally in that kind of shape, they're just not that slender and tall, and so this image gets into your head that that's the only way it can be. But we have all ages. I think our youngest model on Saturday was 5, and he was just the cutest little kid in the world.
And actually, it's so good to see now through the different magazines and through different ads and so on that the fashion is becoming much more diversified. And taking the steps that you're taking to make it this way right from the start is truly wonderful. And now for the people who are bringing their items to the stage, are they designing particularly for this event or pulling from their closet? Do you know?
So I can't really give away too much, but we do know that there are some special things that are being done by our designers that will be showcased, if you will, at these events. But that's kind of the designer's purview to let that information go, unless they really let us know they want us to share it. So,
and ticket sales will be taking place this summer?
They will, actually, and it's really fun because we hope to do as many giveaways leading up as we can, so that we can give options for people to get a chance to come in case they're not able to access the tickets in another way. I believe tickets would go on sale the first week of July or the last week of June.
Oh, well, hopefully people are listening to this, because I have a feeling it's going to sell out without question. I wanted to bring back to Enlo a little bit our conversation, because that's how we met. You originally helped me design a course and a program, and last year at this program we shared a booth.
We did.
We did. We shared a booth to talk about what we each did. But you were originally an educator, and you left that field to become an entrepreneur. Talk a little bit about that.
Education is definitely a place for us to experience support when you're wanting to advance your career. I was an adult educator, and I loved working with my students. I loved seeing them get to their goals. But there were restrictions on what I could do as an educator, and I had to work within a system. And over time, that kind of wore me down a little. And then I made the decision that the only way I can work the way I want to work and put my skills and my talents and my energy towards projects that were meaningful to me was if I had my own business. And so that's when I decided I wanted to start creating space for people to really feel like they belong. And that's why I started in diversity, equity, inclusion.
And you also have an art gallery space that you've been developing.
I do. So it's always been a bit of a wish, I guess, to see a decolonized Indigenous art space. And I know of other people on the island, through the province, who are also working on similar projects. But I really feel that having, Galloway Gallery on the East Coast out here on the Avalon is important. For me, it's like the sun rises here. It's a beginning. It's a new day. Learning can happen. My goal, of course, was to have the gallery open so that I could teach Truth and Reconciliation classes leading up to Truth and Reconciliation Day in September. but you know, we hope. I'm kind of busy, so.
Fashion project kind of got in the way of that. And you did mention the name of your business, Galloway, which I really loved. And I loved working with you. I felt that we discussed a lot of things that were close to our passions and hearts. And through that, I was able to create a course and through your guidance. So that was a bringing together that ENLO that I personally experienced.
Yes.
And this is something that they do all the time. And they bring business women from many diverse backgrounds together in very strong and positive ways.
Yes.
Has your involvement with ENLO gone back a long way, or are you a newer member?
I'm trying to remember. I think I would have started in 2019. That makes some sense to me, or 2020, because I was still teaching. I was trying my best to figure out what a business would look like on the side, and I realized that I couldn't really split my attention that way. So I had to kind of take that chance and pull the plug on the career and go to become an entrepreneur, and I just went for it.
I think that is what we have heard. I heard that from Susie York in my interview with her. If you have an idea, follow your gut, follow your instincts, follow your heart.
Yeah.
And so I think you are doing that, definitely. Did we mention everybody who's involved in the fashion project?
So St. John's Fashion Week currently has Jessica Brown as a CEO. We have our director of photography, which I believe is Roger Monder. I want to make sure the titles are right. Then we have still photography, which is Dave Howells, and myself, Creative Director Tera McDonald.
And it's all coming.
And of course, amazing people who are also supporting us and helping us along the way.
Wonderful. Well, we certainly wish you every success with that. It may be the first one, but I have a feeling it's going to be the first of many. And again, as you always show up with your beautiful art displayed, your earrings and your hair, and I love it. I love to see it, and I love your representation of who you are.
You know, I gotta say, I'm gonna do a little shout out. Chief Miles gave these to me. She's the chief of my First Nation, St. George's First Nation, and you know, they're good luck.
I think they are. Thank you so much, Tera, and it's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to find out about everything that's going to be happening.
Okay.
Don't go away. We'll be right back. Great conversation today, and join us again, please, on Women Rising, because we have more stories to tell and share with you.